Hello and welcome to Just Hoops. In today's video, we're going to dive into the Seattle Storm and their number one defense. Coach Noel Quinn has done an awesome job at formulating the best defense in the WNBA and one of the best defenses in basketball. So let's dive in a little bit more. First, starting with some stats. They're the number one rated defense with a 94.7 defensive rating. They're number one in points per possession at .854. And some other stats that they rank first in the W are steals, points off turnovers, fast break points, and they're holding teams to under 45% from the field. All around, they're doing a fantastic job at preventing easy buckets and making things very difficult in the half court. In this video, we're going to dive into certain aspects of their defense, starting with their base defense, then going to their transition defense, which is number one in the WNBA. Then we're going to talk about their ball screen coverage. And then lastly, we're going to wrap up with their zone. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something about the Seattle Storm. So let's start off by talking about the base, the bones, and the fundamental structure of the defense that Coach Noel Quinn has put in place in Seattle. Everything starts with their ability to guard 1v1, guard their yard, and do a really solid job individually. In this first clip against the Fever, you can see as the offense drives, it's one-on-one. There's really no help. Everybody's staying home. Help will come at the rim. We'll talk about that later. But the majority of the defense is based on your ability to slide, use your chest, stay in front, and be very solid one-on-one. They really do a good job at applying pressure at the point also, just being overall a great defender individually. They want to pin you to the side. They tend to stay home and help. They, especially below the break, they're not going to help off of corners too often unless if it's a non-shooting threat. The help primarily comes from the weak side, from a big sliding over in the low, or we'll talk about that later. But in this last clip of watching the individual side of defense, you'll see this defender is on an island at the top of the key. Everybody's home. Everybody's guarding theirs, waiting to help if necessary, and they force a mid-range jump shot. Now let's talk more about the rotation that I was diving into earlier. As you see on this drive, you'll see the low man pulls over to the strong side block as the primary help. Behind them, they plug and drop in to help the help. And then the Sue Bird on the top side is zoning up to prevent passes out. You'll see that in this clip too. On the get, Sue Bird picks up on the switch, the low man slides over and helps, and look at the positioning. The low man helps, and on the help side, there's a drop and a zone up at the top side. This is the basis of their ability to rotate and help each other out, and this is one other example. The drive baseline, low man slides over, they drop and zone up. They also like helping with size, so you saw in that one, Stewie came down as another help defender. This is another example of the low man coming over. Taurasi drives. She gets by the ball. Low man pulls in. And then they zone up on the outside. They're staying home and denying. They do an awesome job individually at just preventing theirs. They're willing to switch. They're willing to help each other. But you can see in these clips, the help side's loaded. They do a good job at neck switching, and this defense is predicated on their ability to rotate, help each other out, and always apply pressure at the point of attack. One other thing I want to talk about when it comes to their base defense is when it's in post situations. They love sending to the post. So you'll see in a lot of these, it's not even the low man, it's the opposite big. So the 4 or 5 that's off the ball, not guarding the post, you're going to shrink in, trap, apply pressure. You'll see in this, Sue Bird's a mismatch, and Stewie comes in and traps and makes the pass impossible over the top. That's a great job by Coach Noel at just preventing these easy passes, easy buckets deep in the paint. They send to make things difficult and make the bigs make hard decisions with the ball in their hands. Another thing is that they're phenomenal at rotating. You saw in the clip against Liberty and this one, they fly around, they connect, and they rotate. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the base and bones of this defense, is that pressure is key. They fly around, they apply pressure, especially when the ball's below the break, and they're highly connected and communicate at all levels of this defense. Let's dive into the Storm and their transition defense and what makes them the best transition defense in the WNBA. So first things first, it comes down to hustle, heart, and just effort at getting back on this end of the floor. Live ball turnovers, missed shots, they always hustle back. Look at this shot when it's up. The defense has numbers. They force a mid-range shot because they hustle back and they make this a priority. In this clip too, another live ball turnover against Los Angeles, and they get back. They don't have numbers, but there's two bodies in the paint preventing an easy shot. The defense is hustling back, trying to make a play, and they force a turnover. Now, when it comes down to beyond getting back, when it comes to what principles they have in place, the ball is first. They match up early, they connect, they point, and if they can match up right away and get one-on-one and guard your yard, that's what they'll do. But overall, they play this as a team. You can see that they're pointing, communicating at who gets the ball. But look at this. They load the top of that key, that the paint is sagged, and they're really trying to prevent easy attacks. They're going to sit in there. They're going to force jumpers, which is phenomenal in transition. This clip against Atlanta's pushing the ball. You'll see that the Storm are pointing. They're communicating. Who's picking up? Who's got the ball? And once that's figured out, you'll see that they're loaded at the WNBA logo at the top of the key. They're in the paint, they're loading up, and they're forcing jump shots. This is what makes them so successful as a transition defense. In this clip against the Fever, you'll see another version of their wall that they build, forcing another deep jump shot. Three people are at the point of attack, at the elbow, making the drive nearly impossible. And this last clip, you'll see that the Liberty are pushing it, and I want to just show how they prioritize the paint. Look at this. There are four bodies around the WNBA logo. That is phenomenal, preventing easy paint touches and making them so successful as a transition defense. Now it's time to dive into their ball screen coverage. So when it comes to the Storm and their ability to guard in ball screens, they do a lot of different things, from ice to drop to switch to show. They do a lot of different coverages that all work out. I'm going to really dive into their ice, and that's the priority and their main coverage, so this clip was phenomenal at doing so. So first things first, when it comes to the ice, they force the ball baseline. The big is up at the level of the screen, kind of applying pressure, and the backside, look at this rotation. Plug the rim, drop, and zone up at the nail. That's a great job as a team, and then let's look at their rotation out of this. The ball gets kicked, the drop X's out with the plug, they come out, they rotate, they match, and then it's back into their base defense. They do an awesome job in rotation and communicating and just being an overall highly effective unit in ball screen coverages. Now this clip against Connecticut, they ice. The ice doesn't have to switch. They return to theirs. The plug at the rim is the main help. And then they force a tough two. The rotation on the backside, you can see also the drop and zone up at the elbow. Great job by the Storm. Now in this clip against Phoenix, you'll see that it starts off with a switch, then they switch back on the rescreen, the ball gets kicked. Now let's go into the ice. The ball, you're forcing it baseline. You're really opening up your hips to the base. But in this clip, let's look at the nail. They do an awesome job at the nail at being active, at coming in and switching if necessary, but stunting and making that pass difficult. In this clip though, it was a two-man side on the weak, so the strong side corner was a good help also. Now against Minnesota here, you'll see that they're downing the ball screen in the middle. They peel switch, but the thing here is that they triple switch with the plug. The big picks up the roll, the guard stays high, and they force a really tough jump shot out of the switching. This is another example of the triple switch. They switch that primary ball screen between Sue and Stewie, and then the big picks up the dive, and Sue Bird stays high. That's a great job at keeping advantages away from the offense and forcing tough contested shots consistently in ball screen actions. Now this clip shows the activity and pressure that they apply in their triple switch ability. They get up into the ball, A'ja Wilson gets by, they peel off with the next, and then Sue Bird is that third in the triple switch, coming up and making a play in the passing lane. Now, overall, they just love applying pressure, and this clip shows that they're willing to do so at different stages of the game. Blitzing here, zoning up in a triangle on the backside, forcing a turnover and getting out in transition. The same that applies to their base defense applies to their ball screen defense, that pressure is key and they want to do it consistently. So the last point of their defense that I want to talk about is their zone defense. They really like this 2-3 that's a traditional alignment. It's a matchup zone though, so they like keeping the bottom pretty tight to the paint. They don't like the bottom extending too much outside of a bump or if their matchups out there. The top two in the zone play as a tandem, but their responsibilities range from the nail to the corners, but anything basically kind of above the break is their responsibility, and they play that as a true matchup tandem. The bottom of the zone is based on matchups. I really like what they do with the center. The center floats to shade the ball, finds a matchup that they could stay strong side and really be an ominous helper, which is really nice to have in any defensive structure. But I think the creative thing about this zone is that they started the year in a 1-2-2 that fell back into a 2-1-2, and they apply a lot of those same principles to their 2-3, where the middle is that omni mover that's going to just always plug the paint, and then the 4 on the box. The bottom 2 kind of shrink in, and their responsibility is the paint, while the top 2 are very active on the perimeter, making plays, closing out, being active at the nail, trying to force turnovers, and be more of the pressure seekers and head of the snake of the zone. I really like this zone as a shakeup. They have one of the best zones per synergy on the WNBA, but I really think that as they continue to build and use the 2-3 more, they'll get more and more comfortable and force more and more plays. So at the end of the day, the Storm's defense comes down to pressure. Their ability to apply pressure at the point, their ability to make things tough at the point of attack, force jump shots, contest, force turnovers, all of that is what everything comes down to. I think that their big thing is their transition defense because they match up right away. They fall into their defense immediately. Once one person gets on their matchup and they find theirs, it's kind of just like, hey, let's settle in. You score on me, I dare you. I think that their ball screen defense is phenomenal in their ice because they're able to apply pressure and they do an awesome job on the help side at rotating, switching, and covering for each other. And the zone is a nice little wrench that they throw in that also applies pressure, but makes it really tough for teams to get paint points. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned something about the Seattle Storm's defense that has made them so successful this season. For more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share, and we will catch you in the next one.